Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here to the retro review of SummerSlam 1995. And I will tell you that honestly, I was kind of surprised I did not have a review of SummerSlam 1995 up on my channel. Normally, when wrestling pay-per-views were coming up, like it was in the month of August, we were counting down until SummerSlam. I'd fire up on the WWE Network and watch a classic show almost each and every night and make a video about it. But for some reason, I skipped this one. And for some reason today, I found out why I did. I have memories of this show. I can tell you honestly and openly, I don't have fond memories of 1995 WWF in my mind. I will start this off by saying that, the WWF Attitude Era is looked at as one of the best times in wrestling. As a DVD collector, they came out with the Attitude Era Volume 1, Volume 2, Unreleased Volume 3. They came out with the Best of 97. And then I can't remember what the exact name of that one was, but then they came out with like Dawn of the Attitude, which was like a Best of 96. Guess why they didn't touch 1995? Because it sucked. I will tell you honestly, WrestleMania 12, I look at as one of my personal, I think it's the worst WrestleMania there is out there. You get a really good HBK versus Diesel match as like a co-main event, I guess you can say. Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow. As a kid in that era, I remember the build, and I remember it not being that bad. Looking back on it all these years later as a WrestleMania main event, if Lawrence Taylor wanted to wrestle right after his retirement in the NFL today, they'd do it. They'd do it no problem. They'd stick it in the middle of the show and it wouldn't be considered the main event. LT was a big star, but in order to put WWF on his back for a WrestleMania, I don't believe it then. I don't believe it after that. But Lawrence Taylor, he came and went. He wasn't really in the Rumble, but he was at the Rumble. He did WrestleMania, and then we never saw him again. We saw a lot of his friends pop up in WCW, like Steve Mongo McMichael, Kevin Green, other NFL players who made cameos, I guess you could say, but they got really no like long-term build coming off of there, and even like the Bam Bam face turn coming out of WrestleMania really wasn't that good when the $1 Million Corporation jumped on him. But WWF, so this SummerSlam is bad. I'll tell you that the time period. I was going into being a freshman in high school. I guarantee with this show taking place on August 27th, school had already started. So I was a few weeks into my freshman year. I can tell you that honestly, I have memories of still watching Monday Night Raw. I was watching WCW at this time. I just don't really remember caring about it enough to try and even watch the scramble vision of these pay-per-views. Once I saw this pay-per-view, it had to have been months later. Once it came out on VHS and a Blockbuster, it probably might even have been a year later, because I didn't rent the wrestling VHSs at Blockbuster unless I was at my dad's house. Mostly because we rented videos at Kroger, the local grocery store, which doesn't really add to this video, but they just didn't carry the WWF WCW tapes. So I wasn't available to be renting them at the time once they came out. But let's get back on track. WWF was in a really, really bad place. Everything I can see on the backstory of the show as why certain guys were used, certain guys weren't used. There's no tag titles match. There's no Owen Hart and Yokozuna, putting their titles on the line, which is weird for a SummerSlam. There's no Lex Luger. No, well, Lex Luger is at the show, but he doesn't have a match. Davey Boy Smith is not used, even though he's in the build-up on the final Monday Night Raw. He ends up turning heel on Lex Luger, who's not on that show. So there's no, where are we getting this storyline of Lex, British Bulldog, I almost call him Big Daddy V, but King Mabel. It doesn't really make sense, but they were still doing pay-per-views, they still were doing television, they were having to cancel a lot of house shows because they weren't able to sell tickets and even come close to making money, so they were just canceling shows. And when guys on downside guarantee contracts are not working shows, they're not making money. So a lot of these guys in the mid-card were sort of put on this show just honestly just to kind of help them out. I'm guessing the big names that they didn't use, I guess they missed out on the bonus, but they at least were able to keep everybody around and keep everybody happy. And as long as you can keep people happy in the locker room when the business is really down, I guess they got to do what they got to do. But honestly and openly, as we go through these matches, we have a babyface Akushi, which really did surprise me, going up against the 1-2-3 Kid, who is a heel at the time. This is a really good opener. I don't want to say it's the best SummerSlam opener of all time because there's Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, but probably at this point in 1995, it's quite possibly one of the best openers that they've had, and it set the pace for a show that there was no way that they would be able to keep going. I'm going to... am I? He's running away. There's a spider on the ledge that was scaring me a little bit because he's a little bit close to where my knee's sitting here. But that was your opener, followed by Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Bob Holly. Triple H had just recently made his debut in the company. This is his first pay-per-view match. It is weird that he goes up against Bob Holly. I think that they knew that they'd be able to go out there and be able to give a good match that really highlighted upon Triple H. He hits the pedigree. It's not anything to write home about, but it's a good match. But it's Triple H and race car Bob Holly. I mean, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, even, I guess you can say. It's not a lot of it. This match really did surprise me because of the fact that Owen Hart and Yokozuna were the tag champs. I can see that they thought about putting Lex Luger and British Bulldog, who were wrestling as a tag team at the time, to go up against them at the show. On the Monday Night Raw before SummerSlam, they ended up having British Bulldog turn on Diesel. Diesel stood in and took a match, and it was against Mabel. And who was Mabel's partner? I can't remember who Mabel's partner was. But Diesel was about to get the win in the match, and British Bulldog hit him from behind, hit him into Mabel, and they called it the Royal Plan, which doesn't really make sense to me because of the fact that if Mabel is going into SummerSlam as the number one contender, if he wins, why would he give Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, why would he give him a title shot down the road? You would think that it's possibly he could have to have a rematch against Diesel. If they're helping each other out in tag matches, you would think that they'd be helping out each other and not wanting to put the title online against each other. But instead of that match, we end up getting the Smoking Guns going up against the Blue Brothers. The Smoking Guns got the win here. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Blue Brothers fan. They're one of the reasons why I always look at that WrestleMania 12 card, and I'm like, this really makes no sense at all what's going down. That's followed by Barry Horowitz going up against Skip. Barry Horowitz, a lifelong, I guess you can say, job guy in WWF. His big storyline is that he was in a match against Skip, a member of the Body Donnas, but this was very early in Skip and Sonny's Body Donna's singles career. When Skip came in, he was a singles. He ended up having a little bit of of a winning streak, and then all of a sudden he was doing push-ups in the ring one day during the match, and Barry Horowitz rolled him up 1, 2, 3, gave himself the big pat on the back, and they were off and running. They ended up having a 10-minute challenge where Skip said he could beat Barry Horowitz in 10 minutes. Ended up going to a draw. where I guess you can say that means Barry Horowitz won the match because he was able to last the 10 minutes in the ring with him, which ended up setting up this SummerSlam match that Barry Horowitz got the win. Chris Candido coming in to the company to WWF, you would think he would be getting a substantial push instead of putting over a job guy at the time. They had done this in the past with the 1-2-3 Kid, Razor Ramon. I don't really think that they were trying to make Barry Horowitz, a WWF superstar. So I don't really know what they were doing here, if they had already given up on Chris Candido and they didn't want to fire him because they didn't want to lose Sunny because they knew how big of a star she was going to be. Within a few months after SummerSlam, I think by Survivor Series, the Pritchard brothers shows up, Tom Pritchard, and we end up getting, not Zip. Zip was later once they got rid of Sunny and they brought in that guy dressed up in the Body Donnas. I can't remember what Tom Pritchard's name was as the Body Donna guy, but Barry Horowitz gets the win over Skip. Then we had Bertha Faye going up against Alundra Blaze. This is a good women's match. It's short. It's a title change. I don't really know why. Maybe they were trying to bring life to the WWF Women's Championship to keep people talking about it. But Alundra Blaze drops the championship. I know that sooner than later she's going to show up in WCW, so I don't really know if it's I don't really know if it's like a contract thing or something like that, but when she shows up, she has the women's championships. I don't know if it's an older one or if she still was the champion, so we have to have a championship change somewhere down the road, I'm guessing, where Alundra wins it back. But that's followed by The Undertaker going up against Kama in a casket match. This match honestly isn't spectacular. It's not the worst casket match. It's definitely not the best match of all time, but it's just kind of a time killer. Coolest spot from this match is when The Undertaker ends up hitting Kama over the top rope with a clothesline, but Undertaker falls in as well. Both guys in the casket. Casket closes. Referees, there's two of them on the outside looking at the casket, look at it like, I don't know what to do. This has never happened before. But they ended up just like letting the match continue. Within a few seconds, Kama ends up trying to come out of the casket, but then Undertaker's grabbing hold of his leg. They get back into the ring, and Undertaker ends it with a tombstone. Honestly, in my opinion, Kama was he looked like he was going to be a badass dude when he first came in, and of course, he ends up, stealing the Undertaker's urn, and then he melts it down to make that big gold chain that he wears around his neck. I, at the time, thought that it was a copy of, like, Street Fighter. He looked like a guy that, could survive in that game and hold its own. I think the guy's name was It's been a long time, guys. I'm not the biggest video game dude. I don't even play the wrestling games that much. But Burzog, I definitely started with a B, and I think he came from Russia. And he had like a little patch of hair right here in his chest. But Street Fighter 2, look it up. You'll know who I'm talking about. I'll actually tweet his picture as soon as I'm done with this video because I'm gonna look him up. But I guess now more people talk about they were trying to bring people over from UFC because UFC has started running shows and they were trying to make a guy look like that. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how much longer the comic character lasts after this before he ends up going to The Godfather, but that would be the Nation of Domination, so it couldn't be. Maybe he ended up like being released from the company and going back to the strip club business and then being called back to be The Godfather. Not really quite sure. From there we go to Bret Hart going up against Isaac Yankem, DDS. How Kane was able to become Kane, Glenn Jacobs, the Hall of Famer in WWE. I'm not quite sure. This gimmick is bad. This is coming off of the... Was it SummerSlam the year before? It's how long the storyline's been going and how long you feel bad for Bret Hart. SummerSlam the year before was the Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler, which turned into Bret Hart versus Doink, which then turned into him versus Jerry Lawler. Somewhere down the line, they had a Kiss My Foot match where I guess it would have to be the Rumble, or maybe it was like one of the early In Your Houses. Bret Hart won. He ended up putting his foot in Jerry the King Lawler's mouth. Jerry the King Lawler went to the dentist to get the smell out of his mouth, and that's where we got Isaac Yankem from. I honestly thought when this match was being set up that it was going to be a cage match. I have fond memories of them wrestling in a cage. It must have been on an episode of Monday Night Raw, or maybe on a Coliseum home video or something like that I've seen before. This match honestly goes on really too long. Jerry the King Lawler gets up from his commentating seat. He goes over and he actually gets involved in this match, which leads it to a disqualification. Like I said, Isaac Yankem doesn't last long in the WWF. With about a year later, he shows back up as fake Diesel. That goes on, honestly, way longer than you think it does. One of the main reasons why we just got the figure in the Legends line. And then, of course, Kane is born 97. Bad Blood, I think, is when that is. So that's 2 years from now, which for some guys to hang on in these days isn't too long. From next we go to Shawn Michaels against Razor Ramon in a ladder match. Some people debate whether this match or the WrestleMania 10 ladder match is better. For some reason, I always think of the SummerSlam match from '94 is a ladder match that involves Walter Payton, but I guess that's just a normal singles match just on the outside. But this is another weird match. We talked about the guys that weren't used on the pay-per-view that were big stars. Sid is another guy that wasn't on SummerSlam. When this match was first announced, it was supposed to be Shawn Michaels going up against Sid. The newly crowned commissioner of WWF was Gorilla Monsoon. He wanted to be a commissioner of the people that gave him a match that they wanted to see. He remembered at WrestleMania 10 how good the ladder match was, and just said, Sid, you're going to have to step aside. In the honor of SummerSlam, we're going to make this the ladder match 2. Even though we have Shawn Michaels as a babyface, we have Razor Ramon as a babyface. They only have one title this time that they end up hanging up. The most memorable moment in this match is that Shawn Michaels climbs up to grab the belt at the end of the match and ends up slipping off of the ladder, and he ends up falling. And then he ends up getting up. He throws a temper tantrum in the ring, ends up grabbing the ladder and throwing it out of the ring, grabbing another ladder, climbing that one up, and grabbing the belt. Honestly, when it comes down to it, it's the only flaw in this match, and it honestly should have been the main event of the match, of the night. Sent everybody home happy. Don't worry about the fact that we have a championship match, but the main event of the show, Diesel against King Mabel. Diesel has been champion, honestly, since the night after Survivor Series, so late 94. They did the Brett versus Bob Backlund title change. That really surprised everybody. We didn't even really get to set in with Bob Backlund being our champion, because on a Madison Square Garden house show that they would actually film and they would put up on like WWF Superstars to make sure that everybody saw, Diesel almost comes from the back of the line. At that point, he had been a tag champ, he'd been an Intercontinental champ, but I don't think anybody really saw him as being the guy. But Shane McMahon, as well as Vince McMahon, really took a liking to him, and he went right there. It just sucks. I love Kevin Nash so much. I love the Diesel run. I love the run that he had before he ends up leaving WCW, when he's going up against Brett and he's going up against Undertaker, and he's kind of like a heel main event guy. That's like the best run of WWF Kevin Nash. Of course, I loved almost everything that he did in WCW. It gets to a little bit of a point when he's not around as much as he is there. There's a time he takes off when he's booking. There's a time he takes off when he, I guess you can say, has the heart attack. And then in late WCW, it's just I don't know, but I thought he was the man. I thought he was the coolest guy in wrestling when he got that title run in WCW. Nobody else I thought they would beat Goldberg, but it sucks that he had the title in '95. I mean, I don't think it would have been any better if Brett had it. I don't think it would have been any better if Shawn had it. It just was the dog days of WWF. It was the year that they had to get through, and and definitely WCW taking off and having a little bit of something to battle against, and a reason to make the show better for people to watch Raw and not have like enhancement matches and things like that. I think the wrestling business just changed. Definitely Stone Cold Steve Austin getting hot didn't hurt, but this match, bad. Mabel had won the King of the Ring, which gave him a number one contender shot to be the number one contender to have a title shot at SummerSlam. King Mabel was freshly, had turned heel. Of course, men on a mission. They had a tag match against the Smoking Guns. And ends up, after they lost the match, they beat up the Smoking Guns. They brought him out to the ring and they apologized to him, said it would never happen again, and then beat him up again. At the same time they beat him up, they beat up their manager, Oscar, the rapping manager. They beat him up, and it was just a new direction. Mo kind of took a step backwards. I don't even really know if Mo wrestled anymore or if he just became the manager to Mabel, but Mabel started wearing the crown and he really started believing the gimmick. But Mabel, I maybe they should have left him in that tag spot. I don't really ever hear about him hurting people in the tag team matches, but Mabel's a main eventer. It's probably the one guy that they turned on faster than anybody else of all time. He has this match. During the match, Diesel, he had asked him, he's dealing with a little bit of a back injury, if he could just, take it easy on him and not do the sit-down spot on his back. Right in the match, Mabel comes off the ropes, does like the earthquake Yokozuna squash right on his back. And Diesel just like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Just calls him out loud. And just, he just loses it. Match doesn't go on that much longer there, but Diesel gets the win. Diesel looks strong. In most of the days, they build up a heel to go up against the champion. Like they would build up somebody to go against Hogan, and then they would just sort of fall, not all the way down the card, but they would just slip a little bit, and they would just continue on their run in WWF. Right after this, they end up doing a match on Monday Night Raw. It's a 6-man tag involving The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Diesel. You got Mabel. It has to be like the British Bulldog. Whoever it is. Everybody's seen it. Mabel does the same thing. He sits down on Undertaker's face. He breaks his orbital bone. He breaks his nose. And Undertaker has to wear that Phantom of the Opera mask that everybody knows. He brought it out during his Hidden Treasures, when they were going around trying to find his old stuff. It's a weird era for the Undertaker wearing that thing, but after that, the writing is on the wall. They got to get rid of this guy. I think Undertaker is kind of like a guy. He's hurt Diesel. He's hurt me. This isn't gonna work. He does 3 more jobs on the way out the door. He loses a Superstars match to Diesel that he loses honestly in 8 seconds. And this is only months after SummerSlam. This is supposed to be hyped up as a big match. 8 seconds long. He loses a casket match to The Undertaker. I think that was an In Your House or something like that. And then he shows up at the Rumble and is dumped out, and he is gone for years. He comes back during the the Ministry of Darkness, which ends up becoming the Corporate Ministry. And of course, you know that Viscera is with The Undertaker. This is because The Undertaker said, like, hey, if you want to bring this guy back, it's cool, but I'll never work against him. The one way they figured out that they could hide him from The Undertaker, stick him in his group. And they were together for the rest of the days until he was gone again. He ends up coming back as Big Daddy V, having that run with Trish Stratus. But this show, man, there ain't no other way to say it. This show's bad. This show's really bad, and it sucks. But I don't know how to get this out of here in a good moment. But this is in the land of In Your Houses. The next big show that they would do is Survivor Series. I don't really think they get it back on track. I don't even know what point of 96 to tell you that it starts getting good again. Survivor Series 95's main event is Brett versus Diesel. So at least that match is good. It's got that really good Survivor Series match where they mix guys up. It's not just good guys versus bad guys. It's good guys and bad guys having to work together. That's one of Miguel's favorite Survivor Series matches of all time. I know that. But I honestly think when they start putting Diesel on that run as a heel in these championship matches, I think is when it really picks up. Royal Rumble 96. The Undertaker against Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels wins the Royal Rumble by last eliminating Diesel. I would even say that this is like when it starts getting great, but at least it starts getting good again. And then of course we would get to WrestleMania 12, which I don't think is a great WrestleMania. I think it is a big one, but it's got like your Shawn versus Bret, Iron Man match, Undertaker versus Diesel. I think that's Diesel's last match before he leaves. Ultimate Warrior against Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Savio Vega, Piper versus Goldust, Hollywood Backlot Brawl. So I don't really know when to tell you they fix it for good, but 95, man, bad year. It's gonna be a long time before I watch another show from this time.